Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Manny Brown back with your Dead End Sports MLB recap for Monday, May 22nd, 2023. Well, if there was ever a team that needed a week like they just had, it was the New York Mets. Man. Before we get into it, though, make sure you like this video and click subscribe to all things Dead End Sports. Well, the New York Mets came into last week pretty much, if not at rock bottom, close to rock bottom. 3 games under 500, having probably one of the worst 3.5 week a month stretch that any contending team has had in a long while. I mean, everything that can go wrong went wrong. And the Mets really went into last week with their season on the brink. You know, their season could have fell apart on them. But hey, listen, as a Met fan, that was fun to watch. Comebacks all over the place, crazy games all over the place, just inspiring baseball all over the place. I mean, it was just a crazy week for the New York Mets. The Rays come into town, the best team record-wise in Major League Baseball. They lose they kind of get beat down the first game of that series. Verlander gives up 8 runs. And the sky looks like it's falling. I mean, everything. I mean, there's fighting within the fan base, bring up the kids, not play the kids. The Mets have some highly touted prospects in AAA. The Mets are an older team. A lot of the fans are saying, bring these kids up, see what they can do, kind of similar to what the Braves did last year with Michael Harris. Bring these kids up, put them in the lineup, see what they can do, especially if you've got some veterans that are underperforming. So it was fighting and consternation around the fan base. But, listen, they go on a run, fueled in a lot of ways by the kids, playing the kids. Francisco Alvarez has a big week, some monster home runs. They take 2 out of 3 from the Rays. They sweep the Guardians over the weekend. Just absolutely fun, chaotic baseball this weekend at home. The Mets have now won 5 in a row. They go from being 3 games under, a season worst 3 games under 500, to now being 2 games over, just being 5.5 out in the division. So the Mets really saved their season this week. It could have gotten off the rails really quick. And I think the most encouraging thing, if you're a Met fan, is what you saw yesterday. You had Scherzer and you had Verlander on the mound together in a doubleheader. Scherzer pitched really well, 6 innings, no runs, pitched great. And then you had Verlander last night, which went 8 innings. Didn't have his dominant start, didn't have his dominant stuff early on in the game, but, got better as the game went along. And then in the 8th inning, just completely still nasty stuff. And, listen, Verlander and Scherzer, they're the key. They're the X factor to this team. We can talk about Alonso, we can talk about the kids, we can talk about the offense, but if you're going to do anything this season, it starts with Verlander and it starts with Scherzer. Those are the guys. You need those guys healthy to make 25 to 28 starts. And yesterday was a big path in accomplishing that goal. So getting Scherzer and Verlander finally on the mound healthy was a big thing for the New York Mets. And listen, they saved their season. I don't think it can be hyperbole. I don't think it can be understated. The Mets saved their season. This week was very important. And if now listen, they got to keep that momentum going. They're going on the road for a 7-game road trip. I think they've got 4 with the Cubs, or I believe it's 3 with the Cubs and 4 with the Rockies, or it may be 3 with the Cubs and 4 with the Rockies. Whatever the case may be, I think it's a 7-game series, a 7-game road trip. And listen, not unbeatable teams. You're playing the Cubs, who got off to a good start early this season, but they've kind of fallen back on hard times. And the Rockies are the Rockies. So very winnable games. I think if you're the Mets, to come off this road trip, I don't think it's crazy to say 5-2. I think it's very doable to keep that momentum going and keep yourself in a position. The Braves are still in the lead in the NL East. But listen, as badly as the Mets have played, for them to just be 5.5 out, I think that gives you confidence as a Met fan and as a Met to feel like, we've played as badly as we can, but the Braves have their own injury issues as well. So listen, the Mets are right there. Key thing is they needed a weekend like this past weekend. They saved their season. I don't think that can be understated. Another team that had a lot of high expectations that kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start are the defending World Series champions, the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros got off to a little bit of an uneven start. Not as bad as the Mets were, but they were a couple games over, a couple games under. Never really felt like, they were missing Altuve for large parts of the season. So, kind of Michael Brantley hasn't played. He's still dealing with the shoulder situation that, the shoulder surgery that he had. So, and of course, you always have that World Series hangover. Every team, or that championship hangover. You have it you see it in every sport from time to time. The team that wins the championship kind of starts that next year, a little bit of a little bit of a malaise, a little bit of a hangover. And the Astros were definitely going through that. But, listen, that seems to have been done with. They've got Altuve back. They've now won 7 straight games. They're playing some of their best baseball right now, and don't look now, but the Astros are back. They're 8 games over 500 now. They're in second place in the AL West. They're only 2 games behind the Rangers. So for as badly as they played at parts this season, the Astros are back. And listen, I don't think anybody doubted at the end of the day that the Astros would be where they are. I mean, the Astros, they're a lot like the Golden State Warriors of MLB. They are the team. They've been the team over the last decade. They've been the dominant franchise. And I don't think there's any doubt that when push comes to shove, the Astros will be right there at the end. They still got really good starting pitching. They've got a great offense. They've got a hell of a manager. Their bullpen's pretty good. There's just not a lot of weaknesses with the Astros. It's just about health with them. Jose Abreu, they picked up Jose Abreu from the White Sox this past offseason. He's yet to hit a home run. I think it's something crazy. But eventually, he's such a professional hitter. He's gonna play fine. Listen, I'm not worried about the Astros. And even when they got off to a little bit of a poor start, I wasn't worried with them. I think the Astros are still the Astros until further notice. So, and that division didn't get away from them. That's the other thing. The Rangers are in front right now, but does anybody really believe that the Rangers are going to run away and hide in that division? I think the Rangers are better, but I don't think the Rangers are going to run away and hide. So I think it's going to be the Astros there at the end of the day. The Angels have gotten off to a pretty good start, but it's the Angels. The other shoe will drop eventually. The Mariners are in 4th place. They've been in a little bit of a rut and a struggle, but I think the Mariners at the end of the day will figure things out and they'll get back in contention. And obviously the A's are just an embarrassment. But, the AL West, it still belongs to the Astros until further notice. I think at the end of the day, they're going to win that division. I think they're going to be in the hunt for a World Series championship again. I just think that's how good the Astros are. They have very little weaknesses. The thing for them is just staying healthy. They can keep Altuve healthy. They can keep Yordan Alvarez healthy. They can keep Bregman healthy. They can keep the rotation healthy. I think they'll be fine. So I think the Astros will be okay. And finally, don't look now, but the Baltimore Orioles are in second place in the American League, and they've got the second best record in Major League Baseball. I think lost in all the hoopla of the Rays and their hot start is the Baltimore Orioles and how well they've played. Baltimore has played incredible baseball. They swept the Blue Jays over the weekend. They're now 31-16. They're just 2.5 games out of the AL East, which is crazy when you think about how good of a start Tampa got off to. They basically got off to an incredible start. You thought Tampa was going to run away high, and they still may. But the fact that Baltimore has played just as good, and they're right there with the Rays, that's crazy to think about. So credit to Baltimore. And listen, I didn't really believe in Baltimore this year. I thought they played well last year. They surprised a lot of people, but teams like that I'm always a little leery with teams like that. Teams that kind of played well the year before, not a lot is expected of them. I want to see how teams play with a little pressure. Baltimore had a little pressure this year. They weren't going to catch anybody by surprise. A lot of people kind of expected Baltimore to do some big things this year. I wasn't necessarily sold on them, but to see them come out of the gate, play well, all their big players are playing well. The kid Adley Rushman's a star. Their bullpen is just sick. They've got probably one of the best closers in all of baseball. I mean, the Orioles are doing what a lot of people expected the Orioles to do, but the fact that they're doing it in spite of the fact that Tampa got off to such a great start, and I know Tampa's kind of come back to earth a little bit, but the fact that the Orioles have played at such a high level, even with Tampa's start, I think it's a good sign for Baltimore. And listen, that division is a bloodbath, man. I mean, every team in that division is above 500. I mean, think about it. The Blue Jays, who a couple weeks ago were in second place, they're now in 5th place, and they've got a record of 25-22. So I think it's going to be an interesting division. I know I talked about it in other recaps, but I think it's going to be an interesting divisional race all year long. And I think those teams are going to all just beat each other up. So I don't even know how many teams are going to get out of that division in the playoffs. But it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the Yankees are going to beat up on the teams in that division. The Orioles, the Rays, the Red Sox, they're all all going to beat up on each other. And who's going to be the one left standing? It's going to be very interesting to see. But kudos to Baltimore, man. They've got a really good team. It's great to see Baltimore finally back on the baseball landscape. We saw it a little bit last year, but this year, Camden Yards is packed over the weekend. They're getting great crowds. There's a lot of excitement in Baltimore about the Orioles again. And that's good to see. Baltimore's a great baseball town, and I'm glad that they've embraced the Orioles again. And we'll see if they make the postseason. I think they can. I think they've got all the ingredients too. So yeah, we'll see. Even with Tampa's hot start, even with the Yankees, even with the Red Sox, even with the Blue Jays and their higher payrolls, the Orioles are right there. So, credit to the Orioles, credit to Brandon Hyde, the manager, for getting that team to play as well as they've played over the last 4 weeks or whatever. So that's my MLB recap. As always, man, make sure you like this video, share it with all your friends, all your baseball fans out there. And always subscribe to Dead End Sports. Check out what we've got going on. Dead End Sports, new episodes each and every Tuesday night, only on YouTube. I'm your boy, Manny Brown. I'm out of here. Peace.